You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes consent. The reason for this is that there's a lost episode from season 1. Find the details about this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working of the show at the time likes to talk about it. From what has been pierced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt and Goldberg during the production of the first season. Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet and seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present and results of getting them angry and forbidding you to mention it to Matt. I first heard of this event while David Silverman was speaking. Someone in the crowd asked about the episode and Silverman simply just left the stage, ending the presentation hours early. The episode's production was number 7G06 and the title was Dead Bart. The episode labeled 7G06, Moaning Lisa, was just made me later have been given Dead Bart's production code to hide the latter's existence. In addition to getting angry, of asking anyone of the show who was willing to give him the cause him to do anything they can to stop directly from communicating with Matt groaning. At the fan of fact, I managed to follow him after you could probably say spoke to the crowd, and eventually had the chance to talk to him alone while he was leaving the building. He didn't seem upset that I followed him, but I probably expected another typical encounter with an obsessive fan. As I mentioned about the lost episode though, all color drained from his face and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could just tell me any details, and he sounded like he was at the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper and wrote something on it and then handed it to me and begged me never to mention the episode again. The piece of episode had a website address to it, and I would rather not say what it was for reasons you'll see in a second. I entered the address into my browser when I came to the site that was completely black, except for a line of yellow text, a download link. I clicked on it and the file started downloading. Once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy, and then it was the worst virus I've ever seen. System restore didn't work, and the entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this though, I copied the file onto a CD and tried to open it now on my empty computer, and as I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started off like any other episode, but it had poor quality animation. If you have seen the original animation for some of the Enchanted Evenings, but it was similar, but less stable. The first act was fairly normal, and it was just the characters seemed to be acting a little off. Homer seemed angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa seemed anxious, and Bart seems to be having a genetic anger for his hatred towards his parents. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off, and Bart was fooling around. As you expected, Homer, as the plane was about at least 50 feet off ground, Bart broke the window and the plane and was sucked out. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea of the animated style of The Simpsons would represent life and death, and that turned things into realistic. That was used in the episode, and the picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. They took advantage of not having him move, and that was almost a photorealistic drawing of him. One act ended with a shot of Bart's corpse, and Act 2 started. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were all sitting at the table crying. As the crying went on, they got more panned, sounded like more realistic, better acting than you would possibly think. The animation started to decay as they cried, and you could hear them murmuring in the background. The changes of the characters were barely made out, and they were stretching and blurring, and they even looked as deformed shadows in the random bright colors shown on them. They were also faces looking out the window, flashing in and out, but you would never really know what they looked like. This crying went on and on, all for Act 2. And then Act 3 ended with the title card that appears saying 1 year later. And of course, with that being the case, when it came to that, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin, and they were still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They started to visit Bart's grave, and Springfield was completely deserted. As they walked into the cemetery of the house to become more and more decrepit, all of it looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just laying there in front of the tombstone, looking like he did at the end of Act 1. The family started crying again, and they eventually stopped and just stared at Bart's dead body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to the similarities, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it is barely audible as the version I saw. You can't really tell what Homer is saying. The view zoomed out as the episode came close by. The tombstone in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them. Some of them had heard in 1989, but some have not even seen the show yet. All of them had death dates on them. For guests who died since Michael Jackson and George Harrison, the dates would eventually show they would die. The credits were completely silent, and it seemed handwritten. The final image was the Simpsons family on their couch, like in the intros, but drawn in a hyperrealistic style, lifeless of style of Bart's corpse. I thought of this that occurred to me after seeing the episode for the first time, because you could use the tombstone to predict the death of the Simpsons stars. But there's something odd about that. Most of you guys who don't know who haven't died yet, all of our deaths are named as the same date. And that, my little pretties, was Dead Bart, a Simpsons Lost episode creepypasta written by Kai Simpson. My final thoughts on this story? Well, to be completely honest, I do remember, reading this pasta, I believe, 2019, because it's like 2021 right now. I do remember seeing this episode, back when, not the episode, but I do remember reading this, sometime on Shadow Reader's old channel, I believe. I believe that could be the case, but I'm not really sure. But I'm going to be completely and utterly honest. When I first saw this episode, I was really amazed to see, not the episode, but the story. I really was amazed to see that there was a lot of time and effort into this. And this image, oh my goodness, that image was just freaky. Just really freaky when you come to think of it. And sorry about that, that's my dog. He's wanting to come in my bedroom. Let me just go let him out. Let him in. Alright, sorry about that. I had to let my dog in because he was getting on my nerves while trying to get in. So, okay. Now, this is actually one of the very oldest creepypastas I've ever seen. I think this is the one way before, creepypastas became, cliched and all that. But this one, it did incorporate a few cliches like the hyperrealistic blood and gore. But this was actually written before, this was actually written way before creepypastas are overusing cliches. And this is actually one of the classic creepypastas, so I definitely have to say, Kai Simpson has wrote some pretty good pastas, which I do plan to read more of his or her stories eventually. It's a pretty good story for what this one was. I definitely have to say it was a lot of time and effort into this pasta. It's actually very believable and well done. Now, I could actually see this being the case when it comes to The Simpsons, because The Simpsons has done a lot of, really freaky stuff in the past, and they still do to make the episode, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not crazy on the newer Simpsons episodes nowadays. I think I prefer, the very old and early episodes, and even up to, I guess, 2010 or something. That's when I think the show started going downhill. Although there were some very few new episodes that did try to provide something, or at least attempt to make something new. But with all due sincerity, it just wasn't working. That's just, the thing about The Simpsons. Now, I definitely have to say that this was actually a really good concept and really well made. It's a very good detail of this episode. Now, I could definitely say this episode was actually a really well made. It's believable. I'm definitely going to say the concept was neat, and I definitely have to say, I haven't watched The Simpsons in a long time, but I definitely have to say that this episode was actually pretty good and well made. So I'm definitely saying this right now that I really do like how this whole concept itself was actually, it was really, 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 really well made and detailed. So I'm definitely going to have to say this one was flat out amazing. Now, I definitely have to say there was definitely some concepts of it. So I could definitely say right now that this story was just flat out amazing. I definitely have to say. Now, if you guys want to know a really great creepypasta, I suggest you check this out, because this episode was made back before cliches became overused, and I highly recommend you check this out. if you haven't done so, because it's a really good episode, and I have a feeling you guys would really, 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 really enjoy this. So, I guess I kind of already sat there and explained, my good thoughts and opinions on it. I do recommend you check it out. It's a pretty good concept for what it is. It's really well made, really good, and I really like how this all turned out. It was pretty well made in detail, if you ask me. It's a really good story when you come to think of it. This story was actually really awesome. So, with that being the case, I'm gonna wrap up the review because I already explained about it, what I liked about it. If I don't really have anything that I have to dislike about it, I don't really see it. So I'm just gonna end it up with saying that this was a really awesome, well-made story. That is a very good blessing to the author, which is Kai Simpson. You did a great job with this story, and I highly recommend that you make more stories. I wonder if you have made other stories that I could check out. So with that being said, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these, I guess you could say, creepypastas or something. Well, yeah, creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great lost episode pasta. It's definitely one of the classics. It's definitely well made, and it was just flat out amazing. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into it, and I do like how this all went out. It was just flat out amazing, really well made detail. I definitely have to say it's a really good, well made detail when it came to that. So I'm definitely gonna say that it was amazing. I really like the Simpsons lost episode pasta. It was really well made. So I guess I kind of sat there and already said some other good stuff. So with that being the case and that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leaving all your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then that way you guys won't miss an upload. And as always, roll the outro because I'm out of here. And I will be seeing you all in the next video. So peace out, everyone. And as always, I'll see you all next time.